Hey, Sarah.
Hey, Chris.
We're painting some onions today.
At your request, I'll call it a request. I think it was more like a demand.
Well, why don't you tell people while we're blocking in the onions here the still life that you had in mind?
Well, it was so yesterday, the workshop that I taught yesterday was about planning a composition. It was about planning your painting. And so I had set up this still life to teach that with, and I liked it. And I thought, I am going to do a million thumbnails and a black and white value study of this setup, so maybe I should just kill two birds with one stone and paint that with Chris. And I sent it to you, and you said that still life is a crime.
You are always killing small mammals around me, and I've had enough of it.
It was not a still life of small mammals, so don't give the viewers the wrong idea. Although I have to say, back in art school, there was this epidemic of people like collecting carry-on, not carry-on luggage, but how do you pronounce it? Roadkill.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and bringing it to the dorms and trying to make art out of it. And the school eventually had to put a stop to that because it's not safe. So, yeah. But
Yeah,
no,
that seems like a
no
real.
animals were harmed in the setup of that still life. It was
Yeah.
orange slices and a lovely cream pitcher. People who are familiar with my work were going to go, oh, like that's shocking. Shocking. She would paint a cream pitcher and some orange slices. Um,
Yes, and
you should have known
I,
what you were getting
I'm
yourself into.
I'm interested who sits down to a nice pitcher of cream and cuts an orange on a table and then thinks to themselves, you know what I really need? A spoon. I need to take
Oh,
I need to
you
take some of this
do.
cream and spoon it gently over the fresh oranges.
Okay, so for one
I'm
thing,
always looking for a story.
so you didn't like the still life because the story didn't suit you. I see
The
what's happening
narrative
here.
was, yeah.
And this,
It,
this onion still life. Tell me the story of our onions today. Which
uh,
I set this up as well. I will tell you because you
onions on paper.
named onions on. Okay, yeah. So that's a story. I could have thrown spoons
Yeah.
in. I mean, there's never a bad time for a spoon in my world. Seriously, spoons. I in all seriousness, I actually kind of anthropomorphize spoons. I weirdly kind of think about them as people and as a not in my life I'm not sitting around talking to the spoons, but like as a still life painter primarily, and trying to have some, when I even care about having some meaning in my work narratively, which generally not that much, but sometimes I think of spoons as kind of either like hands or like people. Uh, so if that's weird, then so be it. But that's neither here nor there when it comes to the still life from yesterday, which you thought was very silly. I don't know. There's something for me about cream, or it's really almond milk. I don't do dairy, but
Thank you for throwing that in.
if that makes it any better, yeah, there's something really beautiful about painting milk, and I really like it. I like painting white things anyway, and you can combine glass and white things or silver and white things when you put milk in something. So I tend to paint a lot of milk, I know.
Okay.
And it goes well with oranges because the colors look good together.
It was a lovely still life.
Thank you. I know you're just teasing me.
Yes.
Hmm. And really, you didn't want to paint that silver. You thought that was above your pay grade for today. And I don't blame you. You've been through quite an ordeal recently, including
Above my pay grade.
personal injury and
Yeah.
weather apocalypse. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about what it's like being in Texas right now this week?
Um, well, I can tell you from the perspective of being in a motor coach, and ours is pretty good with inclement weather. We can do down into the 40s and even just above freezing with only a single heater. And we never even have to turn on the furnace, and the place stays relatively warm at night. However, when it gets down into the single digits, which has only happened to us one other time, then it begins to get complicated because our water freezes, our windows frost over, all of our windows and doors are metal, so they freeze close. So our pipes can expand and crack and burst. And we lost electricity while we were here. And we lost water at several points. And we were unable to get propane for our propane heater for a day. And then when we went out yesterday to go food shopping, we took the hour-long drive into Dallas, and we discovered that we couldn't find gas anywhere. Everyone was out of gas. And people are just kind of generally, I don't know whether it's because they're not used to driving in snow, but they were driving a little crazy.
I think they probably don't even know that they should just not go out.
Yeah.
And in Eugene, it's the same. People actually do know that they should not go out, but they do it anyway when it snows here. Probably because they're so excited, like ridiculous little children, every time it snows. I am a huge curmudgeon. I will warn you, and I think you know this, but I'll warn whoever might be listening. I'm a huge curmudgeon when it comes to snow because I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, where the snow is relentless and goes on for years every winter. Every winter feels like years. And I'm over it. And that's why I live in Oregon now.
Yes.
So, exactly. So, I feel for you, man. That's scary. And then you fell on ice to top it all off.
Yes, I was not paying attention. And I was fumbling with my gloves at the grocery store and just happened to walk on a patch of black ice with some bullshit sneakers I threw on this morning, and I slipped backwards. So in order to prevent myself from cracking my skull, I slapped down in martial arts style. Both of my hands be like in back to the side of me to sort of dissipate the energy. And when I did, I completely put both of my palms through jagged pieces of ice. So when I showed you my palms earlier, that's what it was. It's not too bad. It's nowhere near what other people have been going through here. So, but I mean, the thing about being a coach is that when you are somewhere, it takes a lot of effort to pack up and leave. And if when you're packing up and leaving, if everywhere you're headed is going to be the same situation or the weather is going to be even worse, then sometimes you just have to kind of stay where you are. And that was the situation with us, where even if we packed up everything and left, it still wouldn't have been easy to get out. And we probably would have gone through other adventures just trying to escape the storms here in Texas.
Well, what's the forecast? Is it going to get better soon?
It's already better today. Right now it's 33 outside. Some really great warmth. So
that's incredible. It's got to be like just a storm of a generation.
Ugh. Um, yeah, it wasn't that bad. I grew up in New England, so I was used to driving driving a two-wheel drive around in snow and ice.
Hmm.
So I did not slip around too much. Um,
Sure.
no, seriously.
Well, you obviously didn't walk very much when you were growing up in New England.
No, I never I never stood up.
You never learned to walk in the snow, but you can drive in it, God damn it. Yeah.
Damn it,
I
I can't.
I used to be able to drive in snow, but after it's 14 years now I've been in Oregon. Can you believe it? 14 years. I can't believe it. But I've probably forgotten.
14 years isn't that long. I mean, it's long enough to be to yourself in your own inner dialogue to say, "Wow, it's been that long." But if you're around other people who are just as old as you, if not older,
Hmm.
all of a sudden 14 years isn't that long.
Okay. No, that's fair. That's fair. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, where'd the time go? And I know where it went.
Yeah,
I'm glad I'm
the,
here.
the time went into thousands of paintings.
Yeah, literally, really. I should count. And I wanted to say that I'm glad that you asked for onions because I don't know. I have a student who actually also lives in Texas who recently painted some onions, and I was like, wow, damn, that looks really good. And then, when was the last time I painted onions? It's been over a decade since I
Yeah.
did this. But onions is something that I use as an example a lot when I'm trying to tell people to not be afraid to paint something. Because when I first started doing daily painting back in 2008, I would just kind of look at what everybody else was doing, and if something looked like fun, I would try it. I was equal opportunity. And I remember seeing an onion painting by someone that I admired and thinking, damn, that looks hard. And then, I tried it myself, and it wasn't hard. It was actually really pretty easy. Much easier than I thought it was going to be. And I learned from that nothing is easy or hard. It's just our thoughts that mess us up around that stuff. And I'm still telling students all the time, it could be like onions for you, like onions were for me. It could be like that. So you should try things and not say, oh, well, that's awesome for them, but I could never do that. You don't really know until you try.
I I think I just come at um, still life subject matter from kind of a weird standpoint of, do I like it in real life?
Hmm.
Do I eat it? Do I use it? And if I do, then it makes sense for me to paint it. I don't really have uh, all that much of a connection with the form or shape or kind of effect I can get with certain foodstuffs or objects. So this sounds super stupid, but like I just usually will paint some sort of citrus, blueberries, onions, garlic, and mushrooms because that's pretty much what I like to eat. And I don't really deviate like too far from that with still life. Not because I don't think I'm up for the challenge of addressing other subject matter. It's just I if I don't like consuming it, I don't know if I'm going to really enjoy painting it.
Hmm.
And I sort of take that approach with landscape too. If I don't want to be there, then I don't. I'm not really going to paint it.
Interesting. That is interesting.
Unless I have to.
Well, you do have a YouTube show and podcast, and you kind of put yourself in this position to be at the mercy of your guests as far as what they want to do. A little
No,
bit.
but
You suggested mushrooms, and I've seen paintings of mushrooms that made me want to try it, but not that bad. Like, for me, I mean, I eat onions like anybody else, and I don't know, but they've got an aesthetic quality that pulls me in, and that's why I choose to paint what I paint. It's textures, it's the way that the light travels over it, it's the way the highlights look. So it's a personal connection as well, I think. I can relate to what you're saying, but it's a different kind of deal where I'm just kind of enjoying the action of seeing, and that's the hook for me. Make sense?
yes,
Yes, we understand each other.
I guess, Sarah.
I want to hear more about how this show has been going. I haven't been keeping up with you like I would like to, unfortunately, although on Instagram I definitely do.
Okay, this show, I just stopped it. I'm restarting it back up again because I took a break.
Go good.
Um, I recorded 30-something episodes
Mm-hmm.
with other painters, and I had fun, and I got some good feedback, and then when it was time to stop, I just sort of stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And I am starting back up again, so all this spring into the summer and autumn, I think I will be recording more of this bizarre thing to do, which is force yourself to paint with other people even though you're not in the same space.
Yeah.
Just to do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Come on, Long, just do it. Fine.
And, we all need to take breaks from our normal thing. At times, I have been taking kind of an Instagram break. I'm still looking at it, but I've been not posting as much lately, and it's just sort of was starting to feel kind of like a gerbil wheel to me. Is that bad?
Oh, it's totally a gerbil wheel, but if you know it is,
Hmm.
and if you don't, I think, get sucked into um, the constant scroll and the need for some sort of approval, then it can just be something that you check 2 or 3 times a day just to see if anyone is trying to correspond with you.
Just to see if the world still loves you.
Yeah.
Yeah, get me down. But I've been trying to kind of work on some things in my painting using bigger brushes, and I've been having some less successful studio days, and
Whoa. Wait. You mean to tell me that you're experimenting and you're not documenting every single moment of that on
on
YouTube or Instagram?
no, because it's not going that well. I have always had this desire. You and I were talking about goals and bucket lists before we started recording.
Yeah.
And one of my painting desires has always been to be comfortable painting large. And I'm not getting there as fast as I want to be. So I've been trying to kick my own butt. And no, I haven't been documenting it as any sane person probably would.
Oh,
Instagram.
yeah. I don't know about the constant documentation of everything that you do. I think a lot of things have to be private. I know that's kind of a crazy revolutionary concept in 2021 is to have any aspect of your life or your professional journey be up to you. But.
Yeah. Yeah. But of course then what's sort of depressing is I've, trained the people that are close to me. If you want to know what's up with me, just go look at Instagram. Like, if you want to know that I'm alive, just go look at Instagram. And so if I don't
Same
post on
here.
Instagram for a week, I start hearing from my parents.
Oh, yeah.
Are you okay? What's going on?
Same here. So, the last time I spoke to you was in August.
Mm-hmm.
So, we were speaking about something about you traveling somewhere or wanting to travel somewhere. And I think that's when it was that when there were fires and it was super, the air quality is really poor and you were going somewhere else?
Yeah, August is when the fires, well, I don't know. I think they actually started in early September around here. August is typically the start of what I call smoke season now.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think that it's really started. The bad ones started here until September last year. And so what happened was I suffered through that for 2 weeks, and then I got to travel to Salt Lake City, Utah, to teach a workshop. So maybe I was talking about how I was looking forward to getting out of town and going to teach.
Mm-hmm.
And I did do that. And there was still smoke in Salt Lake. Like, it was there, the smoke, and it was amazing. It was pretty mind-blowing flying over it. Because I thought, as I was flying out of Oregon, I thought, I'm going to see the edge of the smoke cloud. And I didn't. It just kept going and going, and it was massive. And I got to Utah, and the smoke was still there. Of course, it wasn't as bad, but you could see it in the air, and you could smell it. So it followed me, but it was better. It was better. And everybody was complaining, and I was like, you don't know. You don't know how bad it is.
I'm thinking I might have been in Montana at the time.
Well, maybe you had smoke then, because, it started in other places like California before it really got bad here. We had a bad fire. Bad.
Yeah, no, I don't remember much smoke at all. The only smoke I really encountered was on our way back down south. We drove by a pretty big fire somewhere, and it was smoky for about 3 or 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And we also came back down through Denver when they were having issues on the other side of the Rockies. So,
yeah, this wasn't really a great summer to be in the West.
Yeah.
California also was also pretty terrible. I went to California in October to do filming with Kara Bullock. We filmed the Christmas ornament workshop, and we filmed Intro to Oils, which just came out. And so I was down there for a while, and was that the time? There was some smoke there too. That was the beginning of October. But that wasn't the time that they were having the riots, the Black Lives Matter riots. That was in the summer, right? That was like in July. I was also in Southern California then, and that stuff was going on. So I don't know. It's hard to paint orange stuff onto an orange ground, and I always paint on an orange toned canvas, and I paint oranges a lot, but I have to say I need to get into my negative space and start doing some blues.
I sort of like the cream colored tone that I'm looking at right here that you have. I just knocked in that blue really fast because if I don't, my color vision is off enough that I'll mix up. If I don't constantly keep putting notes of everything in,
Mm-hmm.
I'll just begin to switch all of my colors towards. I think it usually goes a lot more yellow than I want it to go, and I lose some of the warmth too. So it's like a bullshit kind of cold or like old urine yellow that kind of seeps in if I don't put all of my colors in place. That's kind of where my color vision tends to push a lot of the colors I mix up.
Okay. Weird. Are you colorblind? You're not colorblind. You can't possibly be.
I am a little.
A little bit. Okay.
Yeah, I don't have great color vision, but it's not to the point where I can't see most colors. And I've gotten really good at squinting and figuring out what's
My camera.
vibrating for me in a squinting state. Oh,
Sorry.
there you go.
My cameras shut themselves off every 25 minutes or so because DSLRs do that. It's not a power issue. They just won't record video for that long without taking a break. Makes a loud click. I just turn it back on.
Okay.
Don't worry. You won't lose me. So you were saying about being colorblind. So interesting.
Yeah. So I have a certain type of color deficiency, and I believe it's the blue-yellow one. And yeah, so I've never really been great with being able to tell temperature between colors, but what I do in order to combat that is I just ask my wife if it looks funky, or if it's too acidic, or if there's something wrong, and she helps me out. And I also keep a very limited palette, and I have rules. I have a lot of rules that you probably don't need to have about mixing colors together.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't.
Give
I
me an
never
example
mix.
of one.
Well, I can personally never mix more than 3 different pigments together
Uh-huh.
because
I've heard
uh,
that from other people. I think that's pretty common tactic,
I,
not getting mud.
I won't be able to take it back from the dark place it goes. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't do that. I'm careful to mix certain colors that I know are. I would think of them in flavor terms as very acidic, like lemon yellow or like a phthalo.
Mm-hmm.
So I know for myself, I don't mix 2 acidic colors together. And the colors that I feel are too sweet, like a um, like a burnt sienna
Mm.
um, color, and what else would be kind of like um, Naples yellow tends to strike me as being sweet. I normally don't mix those together. So I have all these I have all these color rules that while I'm working, I sort of get reminded of them,
Mm-hmm.
and I keep my palette limited, and I'm just careful to mix my colors clean, and I haven't really had that much of an issue.
Great. I
But
mean,
I
sounds like
mean,
it.
if you were and I were to sit down and take like a color test,
Mm-hmm.
um, you would get an A, and you'd stand up and you'd show the class, and you'd give them the Sarah Sedgwick smile, and then Chris Long, with his hat kind of cocked to one side, would be sitting there with pants too big and with sneakers that were untied. And I'd kind of stand up and pull my pants up a little, and I'd show a D plus C minus, and everyone would be like, okay.
I thought you were going to say you would stand up and pull your pants down for a second. I thought you were going to go
What kind of school is this? What kind of color school are we imagining here?
there. A very remedial one, like reform color school,
Yeah.
a military reform school for color theory.
I, I just don't see colors so well. Sorry.
Hey, you seem to be managing it. I really am very interested, though, in your equation of these different colors with tastes.
Yes, I do like I have umami, sweet, kind of sour, salty.
What's a color that's umami?
Um, Umami for me, I would say first would be like a cad yellow dark. Um, I also feel that like a cobalt blue to me is umami, and something like Payne's Gray, and then white is also umami to me.
Ooh, white. Yes.
Yeah, titanium white.
Oh, sure. I get that. I mean, it makes everything better. uh, white is, what is it? The MSG of paint.
Yeah. Also, the other umami is like an ochre color.
Yellow ochre.
Yeah.
Don't want to paint without it. I don't use it that much, but it's like I don't feel right if it's not on my palette. If I don't have the actual pigment on my palette, I will usually I'll mix it. I'll mix something like the yellow ochre.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it's easy to make. You know, you just put purple and yellow and then put some purple and some yellow and you pretty much have yellow ochre. And I'll just make it because I like it. I don't feel right if it's not around. Hmm. I do want to tell you a color story though. So, have you heard
Awesome.
of Yin Min Blue?
Yin Min Blue. No.
So it's spelled YLNMN, and
Okay.
that's an acronym for the ingredients, and I don't know what they are.
All
But
right.
it's a new blue. It's the first new blue pigment to be synthesized / discovered in hundreds of years, I think.
Really?
And they did it about 5 years ago up at Oregon State. Some chemist was trying to make God knows what and made this blue pigment and went, Eureka! Yinmin. I don't know what he said, but so they've been kind of experimenting with using it in the building industry for like coatings and whatnot. And the art industry was sort of hanging back, just waiting for an opportunity to try this pigment out, and they finally did it, and Gamblin turned it into paint. It
Is it everything you thought it would be?
No, I mean no,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's very much like cobalt. So it's interesting. It's like if cobalt and ultramarine had a baby. It would be Yin Min, and it's very opaque. I can show you. I did a little color swatch test. You see this? And gosh,
Yes.
it's very, it would be good for industrial coatings. It's very shiny actually, but look the way it tints. You know, it looks a lot like cobalt out of the tube, but then it tints to this really kind of subtle. Anyway, ultramarine is my love, and I just wanted to try this because I
Can I
thought,
admit something to you? Just
of
looking at the
course,
small screen there,
yeah,
I don't really see the difference between the blues that you held up. Hold on. Hold it up again.
okay. It's very subtle.
Okay, so
Look at the tints. It's easier to see it. I mean, if you were seeing this in person, you'd be able to see that the ultramarine. This one's the ultramarine. This is the
yeah.
Yinmin in the middle and cobalt. The ultramarine's
Okay, so
much more transparent.
the ultramarine looks to me a little redder than the other two, but
You're right.
I can't tell the difference between the other two.
No, no. And right out of the tube, this one, it's a little lighter than cobalt, I think, and it's
Excuse me.
also just slightly warmer. But look at the way it tints. It when I add white to it, it kind of tints in this interesting grayness, much more gray
Oh,
than either of the others.
I'm just gonna have to take your word for it.
Take my word for it. Anyway, I don't know
Okay.
why I want this. I wanted it because it's a novelty. And Gamblin released it and they said, you know, woohoo, we have this now. And so, but here's the thing.
Hmm.
That tube that I just held up for you, that little tube was $75.
What?
Yep. I have never paid more for a tube of paint in my entire life, but it was back in December, and my father was like, "What do you want for Hanukkah?" And I, of course, couldn't think of anything because I buy myself everything that I want, which isn't much. Anyway, and I was like, "Oh, I had just gotten this email from Gamblin, like, limited release, Yinmin Blue, come and get it. It's only $75." And I said, "Oh, Dad, well, there is this one thing."
Wow.
So I ended up getting Yinmin Blue for Hanukkah. It was great. I certainly would not buy it again. I don't know why I would want it if I have ultramarine and cobalt around. I don't even use cobalt blue. But I tried it. I fell prey
What?
to the marketing gimmick.
Yeah.
Long story short, I did.
How do you feel about like Prussian?
I mean, I'm cool with it. I don't paint with it. I don't even know if I have any. I think I painted with it when I was in art school.
Yeah.
Do I even have any? God, I don't think so. Um, Cobalt. What's cobalt? I have anthraquinone blue.
Oh.
God, adding another layer of complexity. Yeah, I don't think I have Prussian. I may have some in the closet. I have a weird, like, amalgamation of antique paint someone gave me that just sort of sits in my closet.
Hmm.
Anthraquinone blue, I think it's an ultramarine replacement. I think that's what it's meant to be.
Oh.
Yeah, it just, I don't know what the point of it is. How do you feel about Prussian blue? I think it would be acidic, don't you?
Um, I I'm not sure about it, which is why I asked you. I don't really assign um, a flavor profile to Cad Red or Cad Red Light and Prussian because I can't figure out how they taste, and I'm not willing to actually taste them. So
You don't paint with the CADs?
no.
I have a student who quit painting with CADs after her dog ate her palette.
Oh.
So you just got a puppy, I'm telling you. Apparently that's a thing. I don't know why the hell a dog would eat a paint palette.
I don't think that our dog would, but she would definitely taste it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that she would like pass up dinner to go eat the cat red tube. But I don't. Yeah, I'm pretty careful about which um, what I do with my CAD paint. So I'll use like a cad orange or yellow on my palette, but that's it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I mostly just stick to magenta.
Quinacridone.
Yeah.
Quinacridone tints and mixes beautifully. I like alizarin. I know it's not permanent. It's fugitive. I have permanent alizarin. It's not the same pigment. It's just not the same.
Why do you prefer the alizarin over the quinacridone?
I like quinacridone too. I think, but I just don't. So I don't need them both because I wouldn't know why to choose one over the other if I had them both on my palette. Quinacridone's a little lighter. I think I like alizarin because I'm always pairing it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
always pairing alizarin with either cadmium red or cadmium red light. And so I like it because it's dark, like it's really different. So then I have like a huge diversity in my reds, not only in value, I've got a light red and a dark red, but I've got an opaque red and a transparent red. Now quinacridone is also very transparent. It's just not as dark as alizarin.
Okay.
So I think I like it because then I feel like I have more tools if I have
Yeah.
more of a difference. And I love cad red and cad red light, not both at once, but either or. To me, if we want to talk about eating it, the cadmiums feel like steak to me.
Seriously?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Cad red for sure.
Hmm.
But I think, so one time, a while ago, I had online student come to me in tears, just despondent. And she said to me, Sarah, I cannot figure it out. And I'm so baffled, and please help me and tell me why artists why artists paint with the pigments that they paint with on their palette. I don't know why one artist paints with cadmium yellow and another artist paints with Indian yellow, etc.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
don't know what to do. And I said, look, I've got good news for you. The good news is, well, the bad news is you're overcomplicating it and you're insane. But the the good news is the answer is really simple. Mostly people are painting with the pigments that they paint with out of personal preference. It's just personal preference. There's not some like should do about it.
Yeah.
And a lot of that personal preference comes from our teachers. Whoever our teachers were, if we went to art school or if we took a workshop or whoever influenced us. And I got a materials list in Painting 101 in 1997, and on that materials list was probably cadmium red and alizarin crimson, and here I am, over 20 years later, still using them, happily.
Yes, I took a painting one class when
And you
I
stood
was
up
in
and pulled
college
your
in the
pants
90s
down.
as well. And I don't remember a damn thing from that class. I don't know what I was doing. I don't remember actually being there. I know that I painted like some sort of plaster casts at one point, and then a vase, and maybe a pomegranate at one point. I couldn't tell you how I did it. I know that I used oil, and I'm pretty sure that I painted it a lot larger than I should have. Like, I don't know. I was doing probably 16 by 20 size for studies.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember using way too much terp. So everything was very washy.
Mm.
But that's the extent of um, what I remember taking as a class. And then my biggest influence is basically what my wife tells me to do because she was a painter in school. So she basically said you pick two blues, two yellows, two reds, and you have white. So
Sounds right
I
to me.
I choose like a Payne's gray and a phthalo most times for my blue, and then for my red it's magenta and like a burnt sienna, and then for my yellow it's normally like a Naples and then a Cad Deep, and then I use titanium. So that's my
It sounds like a great palette to me.
yeah, that's the basic one that I kind of fall back on, and it seems to work.
Yeah, it does.
People seem to like it, and they like the grays that I make with it, and I think sometimes that's not considered enough in
Mm.
painting. Um, that I think a lot of people's eyes respond to the subtlety of the gray you use,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I know that I definitely when I see certain pieces and the gray is most certainly just lamp black and titanium white mixed together.
Oh yeah, the
Um,
shadows. It's
I
awful.
can I that I can definitely tell. Like I'm really good with value. So and anything that is uh, far too sort of neutral kind of gets me too.
What do you mean?
I mean, like my eye will just stop on it, and but I won't know why. So I'm kind of ticked off a little bit. Like, what? Why? Why did I stop on this point? And it's usually because there is a local color issue, or there is an issue with the gray.
Yeah.
Where do you think when you're just kind of flipping through and you're just kind of seeing what contemporaries are posting or seeing, kind of the old masterworks that people are posting.
Hmm.
When you stop on something in particular and something bugs you as far as color goes, what is it? What's the culprit normally?
Yeah. Colors that aren't neutralized enough.
Okay.
Tube colors.
Okay. So
Yeah.
straight out of the tube.
Unsophisticated looking color mixtures. Yeah, because A, it's lazy, and B, it's not what we're supposed to be doing. It's pretty rare that I would see that. The thing that stops me most is probably sloppy paint application, bad edges.
Hmm.
Or just things that are poorly drawn. But probably what irritates me is unsophisticated colors and just sloppy brushwork. It's pretty rare. And I have to say, like, sometimes I kind of admire people who just can put it out there and be happy with that stuff. I'm constantly beating myself up. And,
Well, because in your realm of taste, what you have come to consider good taste, I think part of that good taste for you is control. So how other artists control those aspects is something that you kind of identify with.
I hear what you're saying, yeah, but the opposite side of that coin is a lot of times I get stopped in my tracks by things where people just really were free, let themselves be free, let themselves go and enjoy it. And I'm like, wow, that looks like fun. That something that looks like it was fun to paint will always stop me in my tracks because frankly, one of the reasons I even look at art online at all, aside from to steal ideas from people, haha, is, because a really wonderful painting, whether it's amateur or professional masters or whoever did it, makes me want to paint. You know, I look at art online so that I can get inspired and want to go paint. And I feel the same way about videos too.
See, I have never actually sat through an entire video.
Not even of your own. I make art videos, but I don't watch them. No, I am also not a huge
My art videos
connoisseur.
are just me bullshitting with people, though. Like it's mostly bullshit, and it's very little of it could be considered educational. And when I have had the chance to view other painting education videos, I have next to no patience to go past maybe the 10-minute mark.
I hear you. And I make them. So it's like, I would try to watch my own and I get super bored and I'm just like, nah, done.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's fine. I don't have to like proof the rest of it. I hate editing my own videos too. But, I get it. I don't have a lot of patience for that either. But like Bob Ross, I used to be able to watch the hell out of that when I was a kid.
I was not a Bob Ross fan.
I was.
I could not get over his hair,
His hair was pretty great.
and I was always a little bit disturbed over the size of his brushes.
Yeah, me too. And the liquid white, what the hell is that? You know?
Oh, is that kind of like the equivalent of like a Permalba kind of
Maybe. Yeah,
mixing white?
I think so. Well, that was his thing, big time. And you can buy Bob Ross paint still. It's a brand. He's a brand still. They usually have it at Michael's and like that.
Really?
Yep.
I have some Bob Ross paint that I got on sale at a Hobby Lobby probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Sounds right.
I picked up a ton of brushes and oil paint from him for less than $20. Like I'm talking each tube of paint was like 65 cents.
Sweet.
And I have since donated all of it because it was not quite the type of oil paint I was hoping for. It's either it either runs so much that you have to catch the oil on your palette with like a knife or like a paper towel, or it's so pasty that you can't actually push it out. You need to take the end of like a very narrow palette knife and kind of dig it out.
Oh, that's awful. That's awful. It doesn't surprise me either. Poor Bob. I wonder what kind of paint he used.
I don't know.
Yeah, we know what
I had
color.
the opportunity to watch a little documentary on him at one point, and I didn't. And I'm kind of kicking myself now because it might have been interesting, but I just saw it and kind of just remembered not liking it when I was a kid and thinking to myself, yeah, sure, you think they're happy trees until you're there and then they're not so happy, are they, Bob? His landscapes were like they were places that I wouldn't want to be because I didn't feel safe enough.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
I hear you. They were scary. There's
where the
always like
hell
icebergs
am I
and shit.
here? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Like, I'm just floating on an iceberg, looking at another iceberg and a giant mountain. There's no fire anywhere, and the sun is just about to go down. There you go.
Oh, you're making my day. You know, there's like a warehouse at PBS that's full of paintings of his. I've been told that he practiced every single one of those before he did the show. So there was 2 of every painting. And there's a
Really?
warehouse. There's supposedly this is an artist's legend. I don't know if it's true, but I've heard that somewhere in the bowels of PBS there is a warehouse, there's a room full of his practice painting.
Huh. I guess that would make sense. There have been some other people online who have tried the format
Mm-hmm.
of kind of standing and describing how they're painting. I think there's one dude who does it like shirtless, right?
No. Well, I
You've
don't
never
know if
seen
there
that?
is. If there is, I want to see it. Yeah, I want to watch a shirtless man paint. It's the one thing I used to like about living in the suburbs.
Google it.
Shirtless men all the time in the suburbs mowing the lawn. Yeah. Get down.
Yeah. They're
Well,
most they're mostly old shirtless men though.
not all of them. So, I don't know. Let's change the subject. Have you seen any good movies lately?
I don't have patience for movies.
Not any kind of movies, so it's not just painting TV that you can't watch.
I like shows that other people find stressful.
Okay.
Like, I was always
Hoarders?
a fan of The Office, and some people can't watch The Office because they get too stressed out about it.
I hear that.
There is another show I think it's on HBO now, that is called Search Party,
Never heard
which
of it.
I really enjoy because most people would not like the cringe factor of the characters being so kind of self-involved. But you,
I'm back.
okay, you're back.
No worries. I hear it.
And that one I like. And then I just started watching something called WandaVision, which is a Marvel show on Disney. And I like that. But other than Time Team, I really can't do TV lately. Do you know what Time Team is, Sarah?
I don't.
Time Team is an archaeological program from the UK from the 90s and early 2000s. There
Cool.
are lots of episodes. And it's just these like older dudes running around digging holes, and they're kind of surveying the land. They think something's there. They're going to find it. They have 3 days to do it. And it is so relaxing to me. And I've seen other people comment on the Time Team videos, how it is not relaxing to them, and how the constant running around and like not finding things or changing dig holes sort of annoys them, and it doesn't. Like, I'm completely okay watching an hour of old British guys digging the ground and not find anything.
I should check it
I'm
out.
cool with it.
My current obsession is the Great British Baking Show.
Oh, I watched that a little bit too.
So
I do like
I
that one.
I think I'm down with watching British people do things in a slow, friendly manner.
Yes.
Yeah, British people are pretty great.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, I don't think either one of those shows could be what they are other places. If you were to have a bunch of Americans, give them 3 days to dig something up, they couldn't do it.
Yeah,
They
somebody would
would,
have to get voted off the island at some point in
yeah,
America.
there'd be some kind of fight. Someone would have to storm off, you know.
Totally. Yeah.
So, where are you in the British baking show? What
Uh,
season are you?
I don't know. I don't know. Like I've been watching it on Netflix and they're giving it to me backwards. So they started me with the most recent season that they had, and I'm working backwards now. But I'm making quick work of it because like you said, I find it incredibly relaxing. So after my work day is over, I often have to sit. It's kind of crazy. I'm sort of a slave to Facebook these days, not because I'm stalking my high school boyfriends, but because I have a bunch of course pages right now. So I have all these online classes going on that have Facebook components. This is part of the new like Zoom nation that we live in, where you do an online class and then there's a Facebook page set up for it where students can have a community with each other and they can post their work, and that's where the critiques are happening. And a lot of these
That sounds terrible.
having to go on Facebook for work. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the
Wait. Who are these people who want to go on Facebook after they take your class? And I mean, is that like a fun thing for people to do?
Yeah, I think it is because it's a forum.
Really?
Well, yeah, it's a forum where they get to share with each other. And I'm not looking down on this. It's actually a pretty convenient and free way where a lot of people already are to share their work and be together with the other students when we can't be together in a physical classroom, and have a real critique and community, which is the sad part. But so yeah, so I have these Facebook pages. So I sit and watch the Great British Baking Show, and I'm just like, and it's all good. It puts me in a good mood, and then I'm happy to be interacting with my students, and I'm happy to be there, and I really do feel very grateful for the remote interaction that I'm able to have. Yeah, don't get me wrong.
Good. Full stop.
Full stop. I,
Good,
I,
Sarah.
I
I'm
in no
glad.
way want to act ungrateful for the career that I have. I am very grateful. And I'm grateful for you. I'm glad you got in touch and wanted to do this again.
Grateful for punks like me who don't
Oh,
want to teach anyone anything.
well, yeah.
It's not because I I don't like other people. I I I taught for sculpture for a long time. I taught like life drawing and portrait, and I did a lot of teaching in my 20s, and I just I equate it to struggle because I never really made that much doing it.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
yes, so I don't really want to revisit feeling like I felt when I used to teach those other things. So
Yeah, I hear that. It's it's not what I thought my life was going to be. I was very surprised when I figured out that I actually liked doing it because I was not very much of, I'm still not an extrovert. I don't identify that way, but I was much less of one when I was younger.
yeah,
Social anxiety, the whole bit. And that kind of faded away in my 30s, which also surprised me. But it's hard. It's hard to walk into a room full of strangers and say, "Hi, I've got something that you want. Come take it." That's a ballsy proposition for anyone.
mm. I was able to get over some of my social anxiety um, in New Orleans, being out on the street there,
I love
and
those stories.
but
What a cool
it
story.
it went from one type of social anxiety to another. It just kind of bounced around. I went from not wanting to speak to other people and seeing interaction as being something like was really draining
Mm-hmm.
to, you know, toward the end, if I didn't have an audience watching me work, I was annoyed, and I felt like I wasn't doing anything. Like I had to be putting on a show. I had to have like almost like a stand-up comedy feedback of laughs.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so it just kind of warped on me.
Mm. Yeah, it changed. It sounds like it just changed its stripes completely.
Hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, the thing I don't get is like things like people do live. Well, I've done live painting at charitable events, and it pissed
Yeah.
me off. It pissed me off because people didn't, and I've done live painting at things like trade shows, which I actually do think is really fun because you're talking, well, I would see all these people that I knew there because I would do them locally, and people, all the artists in town would kind of come through, and it would be like a class reunion of the artists that I knew locally, and I always liked seeing new products, and so that was really fun. But the live painting that I did at charitable stuff, it annoyed me because people didn't appreciate it. And what they didn't appreciate was that I was working from life. So I always try to paint from life. It's one of my big things, and I would go and I would set up there, and people would not make the connection between the still life and my painting. They'd just be like, "Oh, that's nice. There's like a teapot sitting right there. How cute." And I'd look at my painting and they'd be like, "That's nice, dear," but they were not making the connection that I was actually painting the teapot or whatever it was. And
Really?
yes, and it was weird. It just weirded me out. Yeah.
Well,
Plus
maybe
the
they had to
paintings,
be drunk or something.
maybe they were drunk, and also the paintings never sold for what they were worth, and it was supposed to be for charity, which pissed me off even more. You know, it's like this. I'm not expecting to be paid. I don't make any money out of this. It's my charitable activity, but
Yeah.
still, this is like going to these donors for way under retail, and it just started to become insulting. And also, there's nothing that will piss you off faster than donating something to a charitable auction and then not having it sell at all. That's humiliating. That's happened to me. Yeah, more than once. It's a good way to
Uh,
get rid of unsold work, though.
yeah. I don't really know if what I donate sells. I don't think I've ever, and I've donated dozens of pieces. I get I get the tax info on it, but I never follow up, or no one ever tells me if it's sold and for how much. I know because of certain things I've donated to schools in the greater New Orleans area. I know kind of what things went for there, and it
Hmm.
was always way too little. But
Hmm.
um, yeah, you know,
They're not real good about following up with that. I've actually gone
no.
and asked people
Oh,
before.
you have?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah,
I was just about to ask you, how do
sure.
you actually go about like getting that info?
And just send an email.
That would mean I'd have to interact with people more.
Yeah. Well, so the reason I brought this up, because we were talking about painting as performance and social anxiety and
Hmm.
whatever, but like now there's this thing afoot in society where people are painting at weddings, like live painting at weddings. This is a big thing now.
I've been asked to do that.
Have you? By
Yeah.
who? By
Um,
someone online? Like by a fan?
uh, there was one company that started in New Orleans, and a guy was trying to get me to do it for a good 2 years, and I kept saying wasn't interested, and he finally left me alone at one point, and then when I left New Orleans, he contacted me again and was like, "Hey, you want to come paint weddings?" And I'm like, "Hey, no,
No.
never. I am never painting at a wedding." And then, um, and then someone else online contacted me. They said that someone told them that I was in California, and I was. I was in Palm Springs at the time, and they wanted to know if I'd be willing to paint at a wedding, and I said no. And then they sent back this whole thing where they told me how much I was going to make and how many hours it was and how it was so good money, and you know that they would pay for my travel expenses and everything else. And I just sent back no again, like no thank you. And then I got a third email saying I don't know if you understand the opportunity that we're offering you here. It's great exposure and blah blah blah. And
Oh, don't you love it when you're offered to be paid in exposure?
exposure.
Exposure.
I know about exposure. I've experienced exposure before. Even when I haven't wanted any exposure, people have exposed.
You've been exposed.
I've been exposed.
Okay. All right.
And
Sounds interesting.
yeah, I would take money over exposure any day.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, so they never contacted me again. The pieces that I've seen, because they force you to paint in acrylic, or at least the two I had interacted with did. So then you have to do these fast works in acrylic. They have to be ready by the time that people leave. You can start them before people arrive, but you sort of have to paint while guests are milling about.
Christ. Sounds like
And
a
you have
nightmare.
to answer questions. Yeah, it sounds like a lot.
Yeah, and in my case, I would have to wear heels, probably.
That's so stupid.
And I did used to wear heels when I would do the charitable thing. I would
You should be
show
able to
up.
dress up if you want to, but if not, I mean, yeah, maybe they just, a lot of people feel like because they don't really understand painting and they can just lump it into any other profession. Like, oh, yeah, well, people have to sometimes wear suits and high heels when they paint. I mean, come on now.
Yeah. I used to wear a beret. Did you wear anything funny when you used to paint on the streets in New Orleans?
A beret?
I have several berets. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. The artist hat. And you know what's really
Really?
funny? You know what's really funny is my sister has these babies, right? And they're 5.5 and two, well, her 5.5-year-old anyway. Every time he talks to me, he's like, "Aunt Sarah, you're an artist, right?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am," for the 20th time. Dear, do you have one of those artist hats?
Yeah, because that's how cartoons
Right.
symbolize the profession. Yeah.
Yes, and my sister's like, I don't know how he even knows that. That's not a thing in the world anymore, but apparently for 5-year-olds it still is. So, yeah, we got to give the people what they want. Well, good job, you've got boundaries as far as saying no to the money.
I used to wear Hawaiian shirts and sandals and shorts, and I had kind of long hair that I pulled back into like a top knot, and I would sit out there and be drinking coffee, and I was just like a fat dude on the street painting in a Hawaiian shirt, and that was sort of my thing.
Right on. Fat dude in a Hawaiian shirt. I'm sure there was nobody else like you in New Orleans.
Nope. And then when I dropped some weight, I tried it again, and it didn't really work. The the charm wasn't there anymore. No one wanted to interact with me, so
Aw.
yeah. Towards the end, it was kind of rough of my tenure out there, and I mean, it was kind of fun when it lasted. I kind of feel bad for the people who really wanted to do it who can't do it anymore. Um,
Because of the pandemic.
yeah,
Fucking pandemic. I'm so tired of it.
all that stuff is closed.
Wow. Crazy. Yeah, they canceled Mardi Gras, right?
They
One of
did.
my friends that lives in Shreveport sent me a meme the other day when Louisiana got snow last week, and it said something like, "Don't you? This is what happens when Mardi Gras gets canceled."
Yeah.
Louisiana. It was like hashtag Louisiana is not okay. They're not okay when it snows, I'm sure.
Some people celebrated though.
What,
Um,
celebrated Mardi Gras?
yeah, they just kind of dressed up and walked around with a mask on, and it was low key, but I know some people who kind of celebrated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well.
I don't really miss doing that. I mostly still really miss painting in coffee shops. Sounds so weird.
Yeah, you used to like Starbucks was your studio,
Yeah.
and now you have to paint at home like the rest of us.
Yes.
Well, that's
I
interesting
think
though, because
I
like
think I
painting.
had
Go on.
oh I was just gonna say I think I had like a better um, time management when I would paint out in public than I do
Mm-hmm.
now.
Yeah, sure. I hear that for sure. Yes. I'm almost done.
I see.
Shocking.
Yours looks very nice.
Thank you. I'm pleased, I guess.
Oh yeah. I like your soft shadows. My shadows, not so soft.
Oh, let me see. Let me look. I'm gonna come look at yours. Yeah, they're kind of dark. They're a
Yeah.
little bit dark. I'd put some more blue in them. But the onions themselves are gorgeous. I love. So, but the orange reflected light, it doesn't make a lot of sense because it's on blue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh, that's all underpainting mostly.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I started off on like a salmon, and then I painted orange for the onions to begin with.
What's with the line that's going through?
This?
No, there's kind of a line going through the middle, like almost like a horizon line.
Oh, yeah. I put the differentiation between the paper pieces.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I thought it was interesting. I kind of that was one of my favorite parts of your composition that you had was that line going through and this little stagger over here.
Okay, yeah. Well, so you're working from a photo of my still life. The two
Yeah.
pieces of paper are slightly different colors. They're slightly different blues, but I really just, the one piece wasn't big enough, so I was looking for another one to go behind it.
Oh, okay.
But I'm glad that you, took advantage of that in the photo reference. But I did use the gradation. So in the kind of upper portion of my painting, it gets a little darker and a little different. And I like
Hmm.
that, but I'm not emphasizing the paper gap.
Yeah, I don't know. It this underpainting doesn't really make sense, but I kind of like that intense orange there for no reason.
Well, it looks good with a little bit of blue. When you put that little bit of blue next to it, then it popped it even more. So yeah, no, I'd keep some of it, but you want to bring more blue into the onions. I would.
Uh, I almost did some hard edges on these onions today, but I remember last time with the oranges, like my edges got a little hard.
Mm. Yeah, rounded, anything rounded, it's got to have soft edges. That's part of what makes it feel round.
Is that the rule that you teach in your course?
Yeah, so, well, like if you have a sphere and there's a light on it, where the light is strongest, like where the light side is really, really bright, that's a place where you can put a hard edge. But then as it turns around the rest of the way, and especially as it's turning into shadow, yeah, soft edge is going to make things turn. They call it turning the form, and some of that happens with a value gradation, but also a lot of it happens with soft edges. And that's what I was saying earlier about what stops me in my tracks about paintings that bother me as I'm scrolling through. It's people who don't give any thought to their edges, or the edges just happen. Like I always say, hard edges happen. I don't have to teach anybody how to make a hard edge. And it's the soft edges and the lost edges that we have to kind of work on. Really seeing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
Okay. I mean, you don't need me to tell you that stuff. You are.
No, it's good to hear someone speak about it in kind of a format where others who may not be familiar with it can kind of digest it and get something out of it, because my shorthand with myself is no, that's not delicious enough. No, that needs more fat. That is not bacon, Chris. You're not cooking bacon right now. So to hear things spoken about the way that you are is refreshing, Sarah. Thank you so much for painting onions with me today.
I enjoyed it very, very much. I always enjoy your company, and I will say yes anytime you ask me, and I will even let you demand your own subject matter. So you know what? Maybe next time we will do mushrooms.
Or a landscape.
Oh, no, I don't know. So I just got done telling you that you can have carte blanche with me, but yeah.
Oh.
I might have to draw the line there. I'm sorry. Because,
Okay.
yeah, it's not my thing.
Tell people how to find you, Sarah.
Okay. Instagram, please. Yes, that's the place to see my latest work, and that's at Sedwick Studio, SEDWICK Studio. And my website is sarahsedwick.com.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.